let's get started. Okay, if you haven't been with us for a while, know that you can do cheek swabs again. You do one-on-one calls again. So you'll see that on the homepage of the member site. So that's why the homepage of the member site is so crucial for you to go to so that you can see any announcements. So make sure you do that and look at that. You just got to fill out the form. If you want a one-on-one call, you have to fill out the form on the homepage of the member site. So pages, but fill out the form for the one-on-ones because you have to agree to the agreements. Also, I want to clarify about the cheek swab testing. So this is the agreements. You just have to fill out that form. It's no different than the agreements that you're made in anything else. And you can pay for it at the time too. Legally, it's not a telemedicine bit, is it? I legally say so. Know that. Also, no, I do want to clarify. Somebody asked a question that when I sent them their cheek swab results back, they basically said, "Is this all I get?" Because I wanted a full report on everything. I can't do that anymore. So you're not going to get a full report. You're just going to get changes. I'm going to say, here's what I found in your cheek swab testing today. Anybody who's done it in the last 3 weeks knows. And here's the changes. Change this, change this. Here's if there's changes, and if there's a right change, I usually tell them that I'm going to be sending you a flash drive with the new right program. You're not going to get a full report. I mean, first of all, there's just not enough time to give you a full report. You know, I'm not going to sit there and type out an entire report of everything that I tested. I'm just giving you the changes. I'm trying to keep this to 15 minutes for you. And I'll tell you, everybody, it goes way over 15 minutes, but I'm not charging you anymore for that. So I'm trying to keep your expenses down. And I just don't have time to type out, dictate out a full report for somebody on, you know, every single thing that I tested. So that's just not happening. So I understand that some people want more than that. So if that's not what you're happy with receiving, then then please don't request a cheek swab. I don't mean to be rude, but that's I can only do what I can do. So just know that. It's just one person that had a comment. Remember, all the courses are free to you, and remember to search the blog for different things. Let's jump to the questions. Just curious, to treat my congestion, I put Vicks. Boy, that brings back memories. My mom used Vicks on everything, right? That was old cure all for everything was Vicks. I used Vicks for my uh, to inhale with steam. I wonder if that was kind of stupid because all the extra ingredients with Vicks besides the menthol and camphor and eucalyptus. I wouldn't say it's stupid. Yeah, there's petroleum in there. There's turpentine. There's, you know, there's different stuff in there that's probably not the best for us. There is a natural Vicks on the market. It's not called Vicks, but it's a natural ointment that doesn't have those things in it that we've used on our kids. And you can use probably a better thing is just to use an essential oils. You can use essential oils of and menthol. That is a better thing to use. So what are your thoughts on Laetrile? Would that be a good thing to add for breast cancer? Would be best to add the apricot seed form or the supplement form? So yes, I'm a big fan of Laetrile. So you could get the seed form. This is the seeds, and people could just eat these seeds. They look like almonds. They taste like poison. So I'm not a fan of these things. I could just about eat anything, but these taste horrible. So, and I'm not so sure how good it is for your teeth. So we have these on sale in the store because some people like, nope, I'm used to them. I really like them. And so we do have these in our store. Um, Typically, if we do cheek swab testing and we find that B17/amygdalin/Laetrile is good for somebody, then we use the capsule form. This is the capsule form that is just the B17 component. It's not the entire seed. And it comes in 500 milligram or 100 milligram capsules. And if depending on what I recommended for you, make sure you purchase the right thing. 500 milligram capsules is 5 times the 100 milligram capsules, and you don't want to be taking too much of something um, if that's what you're doing. So just make sure you're aware of that. We have it big red letters on the store so that you don't make that mistake. But if you're just like, hey, it's never been tested for me, I just feel like I want to take it, you can take this thing, this product right here. This product is the entire seed itself that's just ground and encapsulated. So it only has 60 milligrams of the B17 in it, but from a whole food perspective, it can be better in ways. It has the B15 that's also included in the apricot seed itself. So if you're just like, hey, I just want to start taking it, I feel led to take that, then maybe you consider this. We have all these in the store. This would be more of a whole food type product. But if you're like trying to get 500 milligrams of B17 in you, it's really hard to do that. You're taking a lot of pills of this. So it's better to take just one of the 500 milligrams. So some people are taking 3 of the 500 milligrams. You're taking 1,500 milligrams. Goodness sakes, you'd be taking a ton of these, and that would get costly for that. So those are your choices for B17. I recently had my vitamin D level tested. It is 120 on my blood test, which is high. Is there any concern about this level? I had cancer many years ago. This person's husband has cancer. I was previously taking 4 of the 80K complete, reduced it to 1 a few weeks ago because we were on vacation in Aruba. Oh, I made a mistake. If you guys go to Aruba, you have to bring me with. It's just for safety reasons. So I forgot to tell you that. That sounds like a good idea. Sorry. Okay, 480K avail is 20,000 IUs of DEEK. So it's 5,000 IUs of vitamin D at each 80K. I typically only recommend you taking 1. So, but that being said, having a vitamin D level of 120, yeah, that's high by medical standards. I think depends on the lab. Some labs 30 to 80 is within normal range. Some labs it's 30 to 100. I want, I think it's better for anybody with cancer to have a vitamin D level over 80. And I don't get concerned about the high point of that level unless it's over 200, maybe over 150. But somebody who doesn't have cancer, vitamin D levels of 120, is that too high? Well, not really, but I don't think you need to be taking 4 80Ks or 20,000 IUs. I think going down to 1 a day is really probably the right thing to do. I'd be at 5,000 a day, especially going into the summer. That's what I would do. I have metastatic breast cancer, mets to the bones. In January, February, went off all my meds. Talked to my functional medical doctor as she ordered an estradiol, and it is 26. Is this in range? Would you consider this okay? She thought it might be a bit high, yet she wants it possibly to add 1,3-C from pure encapsulation. So 1,3-C is a product like DIM that will help decrease bad estrogens. Just started the EstroClear and the sulforazyme. So there's nothing wrong with, you really can't take too much DIM our aroma clear is good because it's got 1,3-C and dim and another thing in it. But let's take a step back on this level of 26 of estradiol. So pulled up this is a Dutch test readout. So your estradiol levels really depend, your estrogen and progesterone and testosterone levels, your hormone levels really depend on how you're measuring it. So if the estradiol was measured on a urine Dutch test, so a Dutch test is an acronym for a dried urine test, something for hormones, and it uses a proprietary type of measuring device that that's what a Dutch test is. Now there's multiple labs that have that type of equipment. This is through Precision Diagnostics, this readout right here. This is the Dutch test I recommend. There's other doctors that will do a blood test for estrogens, or they'll do a saliva test for estrogens. To me, those are not accurate. So here's the estradiol. So estradiol is E2 right here. Now you see the normal for estradiol is 1.8 to 4.5. So I cannot believe that an estradiol of 26 was from a Dutch test. It just does not make sense to me. So this is the reason why I love the Dutch test, because it really gives a whole picture of all your hormone metabolites. So a metabolite is this product in this molecule in your body breaks down to molecule B, breaks down to molecule C, breaks down to molecule D, and sometimes molecule B is the most active molecule, and molecule C is a kind of a dangerous metabolite, and if that's too high, it can cause damage to the body. We're hoping that it breaks down to molecule D before it causes any damage, and so you measure these, what are called metabolites. This is very important with hormone metabolism. So you look up in this corner up here, and you have your progesterones. So this person, in this example, I just pulled this off the website, so this isn't any patient here. This person has very low progesterone. See how normal is the star to the star. They're in a low range here. They're low progesterone, low progesterone. Now progesterone will convert into esterone. It will aromatize into esterone and aromatize into estradiol. So aromatization, we've talked about this a lot, and you guys, some women might be on an aromatase inhibitor. Aromatase is the name of an enzyme that is found in fat cells, of all of our fat cells, in both males and females. So males and females have an enzyme called aromatase in the fat cells, and it breaks down excess hormones into testosterone and estrogen, and typically into bad estrogens, quote unquote. So we don't want to end up with excess hormones in our fat cells. Well, if you have excess hormones of any kind, you will push them to your fat cells if you don't get rid of them in the toilet. And hormones are the number one things that are reabsorbed in the lower part of the colon. So males and females can have excess estrogens and testosterones and progesterones in their fat cells. I'll guarantee you do. And then they can break down into testosterone and bad estrogens, and that could cause issues. So that's called the aromatization, because it uses the enzyme aromatase to break down those excess hormones that are stored in fat cells. Now it'll break down into the estrogens. So these are the estrogens here. And esterone is E1, and estradiol is E2, and esterol is E3. Then it breaks down through these different genetic pathways. These are cytochrome P450 pathways. And it breaks down into 16-hydroxyesterone, esterol, and then it breaks down into 4-hydroxyesterone, And this is the one that can really cause damage to cells and can cause cancer. So any of these estrogens in excess, all of these right here, any of these in excess can attach to estrogen beta receptors on the cell membranes of cancer cells. If it does that, an estrogen beta receptor is an apoptotic receptor. So it blocks apoptosis. So it blocks the death of that cell. So that's the whole idea with estrogen positive and HER2 positive cancers and progesterone positive cancers too. It's estrogens. Any of these estrogens, if they're high, if this one is high, it can be a cause of cancer. Okay. If any of these are high, they can attach to the estrogen beta receptors and then be an issue with blocking apoptosis. So the idea of taking an aromatase inhibitor is to get rid of these estrogens so those won't attach to the estrogen beta receptors and block apoptosis. That's the whole idea. And the same thing, the whole idea of taking, Estroclear and sulforazine and I3C and DIM are to do the same thing. It's to get rid of the bad estrogens so that these excess estrogens and to help bring balance to your body. That's the whole idea of taking them. So an estradiol of 26 had to be measured, I believe, not on a Dutch test, but on a blood test. And really, I think you should get a Dutch test. A Dutch test is a good test. You can just order it. You do it at home. It's a urine test. Send it in. It takes about 10 days to get it back. And it gives you nice results. If this example here had cancer, I'd be concerned, especially if they had any hormone-driven cancer. They have high estrogens, high estradiols. You want these things way down here. You want this little arrow here way down here. This way down here. This way down here. This is really bad. And I think they use this as an example because this could be a cancer-causing result here. This should not be red. It should be green way down here. You want these way down here. As many of them as possible. Some of these methylated ones can be high. This is why COMT defects with breast cancer patients can be a problem because it can increase the 2-methoxy esterones, and this would be a perfect example. So in this example, if this is a true example, unless they just changed the numbers on here, but if this is a true example, this is quite possibly a person with a lot of COMT defects, COMT defects. Okay. So I would suggest there's nothing wrong with taking more of the estrogen lowering products, but I would suggest you get a more proper test done. Hello, we are in Northeast Iowa and thinking of gardening. Yay! Yay, I'm all for gardening. So do you use any organic fertilizer on yours? We haven't in the past, but wondering what you do as this is your passion. Also, with harvesting, do you can or freeze, or what kind of storage do you use? So come this summer, I will share more if you want to see more pictures of our garden, because my wife and I are very avid gardeners, and our garden is very pretty, I think, and it's so much fun. So I just believe God put man in a garden at the beginning for a very specific reason, and I just love gardening. So do we use any organic fertilizer? I bought this stuff for our fruit trees last year. I actually didn't put it on. I didn't have time to get it on. I got to put it on this year. This is the Dr. Earth's organic fertilizer. My wife got some other, I think it's this same brand for it's for vegetables and for flowers. She's huge into flowers, to see her flower garden. But there's other brands of organic fertilizer. I don't think you have to worry so much about what you're putting on your flowers, but on your vegetables, we either don't use really much or uh, produced fertilizer. We do a lot of composting. We add a lot of compost to our soil. We so that's really how we mainly fertilize. We used to have rabbits. We'd use that fertilizer to our soil. We had horses, so we'd put horse manure on our soil. We'd always be tilling in organic fertilizer on our soil. As far as harvesting, we do canning, both hot water bath and pressure canning. We do freeze our vegetables. You know, there's argument you lose nutrients, hot water bathing, or pressure canning your vegetables, you lose nutrients in the water. Yes, that's true. You will lose nutrients that way. You still will lose nutrients if you're freezing your vegetables. We're actually really praying about getting a freeze dryer. They're very expensive, but we literally have so many raspberries and strawberries and blackberries. We just started growing blackberries, but and different fruit and vegetables. And our kids and grandkids love eating the freeze dried stuff that's produced out there. So we like get that to add to storage with that too. Okay, I got a Prenuvo scan in January. So we've been talking about this Prenuvo scan. You know, I haven't talked, I got mine done a couple of years ago, and I was happy with the results of my Prenuvo scan. So I didn't really talk it up that much until somebody else brought it up in January. So, this person is sharing their experience, which they don't think is a very good experience. Though the description raves about it being stronger, better than MRIs, I recently was talking with someone who had one this month and thought her technician said it is the same MRI image as the Minneapolis Clinic Oncology. Well, I would question that. I don't think it's the same image as that. Another piece to know is that they are information mining, meaning all the detailed questions about ethnic origin of grandparents of details that they ask on the history. One of the lines you're supposed to sign off on is give them permission to use the info as they please. And I think that might be just because they're still trying to gather research of their equipment. Most importantly, my scan did not indicate any lumps in my left armpit, which are very prominent. So when I asked a question for clarification, they said, is it because they are lymph-filled rather than tumors that didn't show up? This is the person asked this question. Very good question. They did not respond except to say my report was updated. When I went in to look, they had added a sentence in the report with no accompanying picture or circle saying that I have bulky asymmetric coalescent left axillary and lymphadenopathy, most likely metastatic in etiology. So when I called them out on adding it without a picture or answering my question, they ignored me. Not a professional, trustworthy action on several levels. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a radiologist doing that, and they're human and they make mistakes. Plus, I can't say, that this is just 100 times better. I just don't know. It's just that's the way it is basically marketed. It's marketed as if an X-ray and an MRI and a CT scan and a PET scan got together and had a baby. They're putting up more and more clinics having these. Time will tell. So it's unfortunate that you did not get the data that you wanted, and I feel bad about that. But you just got to try it. It's like any test. I've said this 100 times. You don't just look at one test. You got to look at multiple tests and compare data. I recently had a PET scan that showed an additional nodule on the left lobe of my thyroid, where previously I had on the right only. The doctor wanted to remove half my thyroid when it was on the right, and I declined. And certainly he will now, I'm concerned he will want to remove the whole thyroid. what can I do to shrink these nodules? Well, again, you want to diagnose what they're from, and if they're cancerous, or if they are from hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. So what will cause thyroid nodules? Well, a decrease in iodine, will cause thyroid nodules. Get your iodine levels tested. Hashimoto's, the number one cause of thyroid nodules, Hashimoto's. If you had it biopsied, the other nodule biopsy, and it was cancerous, that does not mean this new nodule is cancerous. So get it, if you're going to get this biopsy, that will tell you the answer to that. So, but remember, the number one cause of thyroid nodules is Hashimoto's. So don't think that you can't have more than one thing going on. So how do you diagnose Hashimoto's? You have to do a full thyroid blood profile. So full thyroid test is going to include your T3, your T4, and that's going to be free T3, free T4. It's going to include your TSH. It's going to include your TPO antibodies and your thyroid globulin antibodies. And it's going to include reverse T3 would be good to have in on there. So just make sure that you look at the biggest picture that you possibly can on your thyroid. These tests your thyroid antibodies. These two tests, your TPO antibodies and your thyroglobulin antibodies, are going to diagnose Hashimoto's. So if you have TPO and or thyroglobulin antibodies that are elevated, you have Hashimoto's. If your thyroid is hyperactive and you have either one of these, then you have what's called Graves' disease. And that's a much more serious thing that you have to get taken care of in a different way. But Hashimoto's is the number one cause of increased nodules. And don't think, even if you have thyroid cancer that was diagnosed, that you can't also have Hashimoto's. So a local functional medicine doctor I know just told me today about two products from Biotics Research. Receptor Detox, it does what it sounds like, and Hormone Balance and Protect, supposed to have the same effects of low-dose naltrexone. Have you heard of these products? And if so, what do you think about them? Okay, so yes, I've heard about these. There are two new products by Biotics. We actually carry both these products. Here they are. This one is the Hormone Balance, I think. One or the other. And quite honestly, when they came out with them, they sent me 3 bottles of them. Quite honestly, I'm not really impressed. So Biotics has some really good products. They have really good glandulars. I really like their glandular products. We've carried Biotics for decades. If you're looking for them on our store, understand they just changed their policy. We can't have any of their products visible on our store. So people have to call in to buy their products right now, which that's their policy. So it is. The reason why I'm not super impressed with this product is, okay, so it's got calcium deglutarate, which could be good for hormone balance. That's good. It's got cilantro, which is a help with heavy metal toxicity. Dandelion, which is a help with liver balance and helping with detox pathways. Parsley, which is a minor player with detoxing things. Chlorella, which again, cilantro and chlorella would, in my book, would be mild detoxers. And milk thistle for liver issue. That's why I was wondering why this is billed as a receptor detox. This is really not pulling estrogens off of receptor. If you want to really name something receptor detox, if you want to say you're pulling estrogens off of receptors, then you have to talk about fermented soy. So that's the only thing that will dislodge estrogen from estrogen beta receptors. So that's the only product that's out there now, is that Hyalin 951. That's the only product that is out there that does that. So I was disappointed in their naming of this product and thinking this is what it is. And then this one is a good product for hormone balance. Still just got a balance of supplements that most everybody's already taking these. And then it's got PAMA, broccoli, which I mean, it's good to have broccoli seed extract. I mean, that's what sulfuroside is. Grapeseed extract. Most people have that in other things, boron, and ginseng can be good for the brain and the blood-brain barrier. Stinging nettle, which can be good. It's a flavonoid that can decrease inflammation, and milk thistle for the liver. To me, this is just not a very specific or complete product for hormone balance whatsoever. So I was, quite honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with the products. I was just so disappointed in how they're selling it. It's just, to me, I was just super disappointed. I just thought, forget it. We put them on our store. I don't recommend them for people. On the last page of the genetics test, you listed tumor suppressor genes, and one of them highlighted was BRCA. So when we look at your tumor suppressor genes, we look at all the tumor suppressor genes in the test that we run and what it tests for. So you had, if I highlighted it, you had a lot of BRCA genes. Now, it might not have been the specific BRCA genes that your medical doctor is looking for that is really dangerous, but if you still have a lot of BRCA genes defects, I still want to support that. So, and the support for BRCA defects is tumor curcumin. So, knowing this, which so I made recommendations. So when I look at your genetics, I make treatment decisions and make recommendations based upon these things. So if I made a recommendation, that's what I made it on. So the oncologist wanted me to take a genetic test. Now they're just going to run like 25 genes or something like that, which is just fine. Let them do it if they want to do it. If your insurance will cover it, that's just fine. I see now on that last page that curcumin is indicated for 3 of 4 of my tumor suppressor genes. That's why I recommend curcumin. Yes. So then you continues the question. You are already taking the Premier Research Labs fermented turmeric plus and standard process turmeric forte. There is some turmeric also in the sun fiber. Can you get too much turmeric? Yeah, not unless you have a food sensitivity to turmeric. Really, you can't get too much turmeric. A lot of studies for cancer and turmeric. This is given that even if a person doesn't have any genetic defects, suggesting maybe wanting to use more turmeric. Talk about anywhere between 2 to 10 grams of turmeric. Now, that's a whole lot of curcumin. So that's why it can be good to get it in bulk and just add some bulk turmeric that you could even buy at the health food store that you can add to your smoothie. It can be really good. Also, you said to use a hot compress over my liver for 13 to 15 to 30 minutes a day. Do you mean with or without castor oil? Yes, it's exactly what I mean, with or without castor oil. And the reason why I say that is that I'm not trying to add more burden to you. So yes, if you do it with castor oil, that's even better. But a lot of times if I say do a 15 to 30 minute castor oil pack over your liver every day, some people just won't take it. They just won't do it. I get it. I understand human nature well enough to say if I add too much, people will just not do it. So if you have the ability to do castor oil, then do it. But if you're like really busy and you're just sat down and you're tired and you just sat down and you're going to watch a show or something like that, and you have a hot pack sitting by the chair that you sat on, just grab the hot pack and turn the thing on. So use the heating pad, the UTK far infrared heating pad. That's the one we have at home. So just use that. Don't think, oh, I have to get up and do castor oil or I can't do it at all. Okay. So don't put that burden on you. So castor oil pack is better, but heating pack is better than not doing it at all. Okay, back to these questions. Is there a blood test that tells or indicates cancer is growing again? If so, what kind of test? No, there isn't a blood test that specifically tells cancer is growing. There's some things that give us clues. So you can do tumor suppressor test or tumor marker tests. And you can see in the blog, if you look at the blog, where do you look at the blog? Right there. Just look at the click on that little eyeglass and type in tumor suppressor tests, and you'll get a list of tumor marker tests. You'll get a list of tumor marker tests that could be beneficial for your cancer. But that doesn't totally indicate that your cancer is growing. If your PSA, let's say for a male with prostate cancer, goes from 7 to 11, that doesn't mean it's growing. It can. You have to look at it against, remember, not one test is perfect. So you got to look at that test and measure it with, a CT scan or an MRI or an ultrasound, and look at what you're willing to go through to find that data. So you also look at it and compare it with subjective tests as well. When you stop pharmaceutical medications like Ibrance, hormone shots and such, and the cancer is still active, how long does it take for your body to adjust to the tumor marker tests? I don't know, and I don't think there's any written data on that. I've never seen any studies about that. Sometimes different. So I think the person's referring to you. Any type of medication can interfere with any blood tests, but certainly there is data out there that states that chemotherapy like Ibrance could interfere with a tumor marker test. I don't know that there's a time frame, so it's really hard. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe just get them done. Just like for breast cancer, a tumor marker set isn't that expensive. It's less than $100, and you could get it done maybe every month and see what it looks like. If my results for my cheek swab came back saying my cancer is amino acid based, does that mean I should never eat red meat again? So we never say that your cancer is amino acid based. We might say that we think red meat can drive your cancer. So if we think that red meat could be a driver of your cancer, we recommend that you don't eat red meat. Does it mean you can never eat red meat again? No, that does not mean that. So mine personally, I believe when I tested myself, I felt like mine was driven by meat. So I laid off of meat except for fish for a long time, but now I'm eating meat again and I'm not having any issues. Is that the wisest thing to do? Well, I don't know. I pray about it and I'm doing what I think is best. So if my Dutch test results showing my estrogen and progesterone were both depleted to not having any, is that okay? Yes, as long as you're okay with any symptom patterns that might result from that. So let's say your cancer is in full remission, and let's say you had breast cancer that was ER positive, HER2 positive, and you're in full remission and your estrogen and progesterone are like 0 on a Dutch test. If you're having symptoms because of that, which you can have all sorts of symptoms having too low progesterone and estrogen, I'm not going to get into that right now. Could you add a little progesterone or estrogen back to the mix? Well, you just got to be really careful. You have to, it's just like, that's much more of a faster driver than adding a food back. So I'd be careful with that. That's a decision you have to make. If you did not have an estrogen or progesterone or HER2 positive cancer and you're in full remission and you're depleted progesterone and estrogen, you could maybe add a little estrogen or progesterone cream. I would never add estrogen, but you could add some progesterone cream. That's something that you're going to have to talk to your functional doctor about. You would put me on Aromaclear for estrogen because DIM had ginseng and others that amped me up. I assume Aromaclear works like DIM. Aromaclear has DIM in it. So instead of Clear DIM has other things that can do other things that could possibly have amped you up. Aromaclear is just cleaner, meaning it's just has less things in it. So that's why I recommended that. I'm taking fenbendazole 5 times a week for prostate cancer, and I'm wondering if adding ivermectin would enhance the therapy for stage 3 diagnosis. So I think we talked about this last week. I'm a big fan of ivermectin. So, and ivermectin works really in a kind of different pathway than fenbendazole. So it's not like, well, I'm taking fenbendazole, so I shouldn't take ivermectin. You know, it's not like that at all. They're really working on a different pathway, I think. So no, I don't think there's any harm or foul. And I talked about this last week. I know people personally that are taking ivermectin on a very regular basis. They might not be taking it every day, but maybe they're taking it 3 days a week, and they've been doing it since COVID. So with no ill effects. So I don't think there's anything for that. I have a 16.4 PSA currently, and I've only reduced this in the last 10 months. I don't, you know, I personally, I'd take it. I'm using the right for pancreatic cancer, but my doctor is saying they aren't even sure it's coming from the pancreas, as my RGCC test came back unsure. Well, I wouldn't trust the RGCC test for where my cancer is. So it gets back to the biopsy. And I can't remember your case, whether you had a biopsy or not, but if you had a biopsy showing pancreatic cancer, then I'd go off of that. Although I do have a cyst on my pancreas, does this mean my right program might not be doing anything if it's not pancreatic cancer? Well, it can kind of mean that. You don't have just pancreatic cancer programming in there, but yeah, I mean, you want to be as specific as possible. So let's say you have, I mean, there isn't really any other cancer that's going to metastasize to the pancreas. So you could have a cyst that isn't even cancerous, a cyst on your pancreas, and it's not pancreatic cancer. Well, then you're actually running the right for a preventative purpose then for pancreatic cancer. But they're saying it's definitely coming from somewhere dealing with the digestive system. My doctor is almost sure it's pancreas, but not 100%. If you want, send in a cheek swab and I can give you a secondary program for adenocarcinoma, which is 95% of the cancers that are other digestive in nature. If you want to do that, I can do that. So for sure. Then you could run like every other night or something like that. I would like to try fenbendazole as well. Would love your thoughts on how much you take. I would, if you're going to try fenbendazole, I was going to try fenbendazole. That's the best way to put it. I would do 1 pack a day, 4 days a week. So 1 pack a day. It comes in individual packs. We can't sell it on our store. Sorry, we can sell it, but we can't have it up on our store. And there's debate on that. The FDA came after us because of what we had on the listing. We could probably put it back on the store as long as we don't say anything about cancer, because other places have it. So I think we could actually put it back on our store if we just took off anything about using it for cancer or how you would use it. Just do 1 pack a day. You could mix it in your smoothie. That's the best way to do it. And do it only 4 days a week. The first nodule was biopsied and it was cancer. This is going back to the thyroid question, I believe. So we're back here. This one. Cancerous. It was not endometrial like I have abdominally. So if you are talking about this question right here, then I would consider getting this next one, a needle biopsy of it. And I don't think that there's real much of a danger of getting a needle biopsy of a thyroid nodule because it's pretty close to the surface. What are your thoughts on chelation and doing SOT? So SOT, the therapy SOT, um, we've had, we talked about that before. We've had a couple of patients that have done it. Um, their experience wasn't great, but that doesn't mean that, that's a couple out of maybe 1,000 people have done it. I don't know. But so that's I can't speak. I don't know a lot about it. So chelation, yeah, I'm really big into chelation. If you're talking about IV chelation, then you really got to go to the courses here and go to the 7 phases of detox course and make sure you read through that, watch those things. Because if you start doing IV chelation without having your other 6 phases of detox open, you could make yourself sicker. I tested for Tumero XL. That is a brand by Apex curcumin. About a year ago, I'm having a hard time finding it at a reasonable price. We have it on our store. We just can't have it live on our store. So just like Biotics, some companies just don't let us have it live. So you can look, you can just call us and get prices for it. We actually have it downstairs right now. So what are your thoughts on PS 150 phosphatidylserine? So phosphatidylserine is a great product for brain health and neurotransmitter balance, and even help. It works together with phosphatidylcholine in help with your cell membranes. So I don't think anybody can go wrong with phosphatidylserine. Not that it's not really a cancer killer or anything like that, but it's good for brain health. Should I be using my grounding pad along with my Ripe all evening for prostate cancer? No, you're only using your grounding pad for the ion folate programs. How would you treat Hashimoto's? Well, good thing for you that within a week or so, we're going to have so there'll be another course right in this spot right here called chronic, just finished all the videos on it today. Chronic disease and autoimmune disease. So you are going to be able to read up on everything about Hashimoto's and how to treat it effectively. Did you receive my pathology report in my email last week? Any comments for future treatment if I decline chemo and radiation? Yes, I do believe I did see that. You should probably call and schedule a time to talk to me about that. I don't think I got a cheek swab from you recently, so I want to look at that too. My doctor is saying my cancer is in such early stages. At MD Anderson would say I don't have cancer. My cell markers went down from 3.8 to 3.3. What are your thoughts? I did RGCC. So yeah, this is back to that pancreas thing. I would say just do another cheek swab and I'll get you another program. Please put that on the form so I don't forget, so that we just have everything covered. We'll get any other intestinal cancer covered on your right programming. I've done that for people in the past that they weren't sure if they had cancer. They did not want to, I had a number of people in the past that had um, uh, lesions on their liver and they refused to get biopsies. They just didn't want to do a biopsy. So I actually wrote programs because so many cancers can metastasize to the liver. So I wrote some mixed cancer programs for them that they could kind of cover all their bases. They didn't have a lot of time on each cancer on their overnight program, but they felt I could cover their bases. And all those people are still alive today. So I've heard that turmeric is estrogenic in a couple of different places. It can be. I don't think it's a strong estrogenic, so it's not something I'd be concerned with. And certainly, I have never seen any rises in estrogen on a Dutch test of people that are doing very high doses of estrogen. Good questions tonight. Anything else? All right, so um just a reminder, if you want what we call an educational coaching call, just fill out that coaching call request form on any issues that you might be having. And you can pay for it online too, and then call Lorraine and schedule a call. And we'll go from there. All right, know please that you guys know that I'm praying for all of you, and you cherish your prayers for us as well. I love you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye.